Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night and felt like your hands weren't even part of your body anymore? That's exactly what happened to Walter, a retired electrician from Ohio, who, after turning 60, began to experience something that terrified him more than aging itself. It started with a weird tingling, he said, like little ants crawling under my skin, and then, one night, I couldn't feel my fingers at all. Walter had always been a strong man, a man who fixed things, who worked with tools and wires, who held his grandkids with firm hands and wrote birthday cards in cursive the way they taught back in 1960. But one morning, as he tried to pour coffee, the mug slipped from his hands and shattered. He stared at the pieces on the floor, not just at the broken glass, but at his own trembling hands. He felt betrayed, not by anyone else, but by his own body. Doctors told him it was normal, just aging. Get used to it. Try these pills. They prescribed anti-inflammatories, muscle relaxers, even antidepressants. None of it worked. The numbness got worse. The man who once climbed ladders and rewired entire houses now struggled to button a shirt. He stopped driving, stopped playing guitar, stopped smiling. And with every passing week, his confidence, his masculinity seemed to vanish like a fog no one else could see. But what Walter didn't know was that hidden inside a simple lemon, the kind you probably have in your kitchen right now, was a natural solution that would begin to change everything. No, it wasn't some magic potion. It wasn't a viral trend or a miracle cure from a shady ad online. It was a 10-second trick based on real biology, real circulation, real healing. It took just one moment, a conversation with an old neighbor named Samuel, to rewrite his entire story. Samuel, a 74-year-old Vietnam vet with more energy than most 30-year-olds, was cutting lemons in his backyard one morning. Walter, still holding his wrist in frustration, asked what the old man was doing. "Lemon therapy," Samuel said, smiling. "It kept me from losing my legs. Want to try?" Walter chuckled, thinking it was just another neighborly joke. But what he didn't expect was that those 10 seconds of rubbing a lemon-infused blend along his forearm would send a warmth through his hand he hadn't felt in years. At first he thought it was in his head, placebo. But when he woke up the next morning, he could feel his fingertips again. That was just the beginning, because what Samuel had shown him wasn't just a trick, it was a piece of a forgotten practice. A combination of circulation science, nerve restoration, and ancient anti-inflammatory therapy that modern medicine had nearly ignored. As Walter dove deeper into this method, adjusting his diet slightly, adding specific hand movements, and using the lemon blend every night, the transformation wasn't just physical, it was emotional. He laughed again. He repaired his old Chevy in the garage. He picked up his guitar. He held his wife's hand and felt it. But maybe the most powerful moment was this. One morning, Walter held his newborn granddaughter and she squeezed his finger. And for the first time in 5 years, he squeezed back gently, firmly. Like the strong man he always was, this is not just Walter's story. It's the story of thousands of men across America who've been told they're just getting old, when in reality, they're missing one piece of the puzzle, because aging isn't the enemy. The real enemy is stagnation, poor circulation, silent inflammation, and disconnection from your body and your truth as a man. What if I told you that this exact method has been quietly studied in top universities, including a recent breakthrough at Johns Hopkins, showing how citrus bioflavonoids can reactivate microcapillaries in the skin and nerves? What if the solution wasn't expensive? What if it didn't come in a pill bottle? What if it came from your kitchen, your discipline, and your desire to reclaim the man inside? That's why I'm here. I'm Dr. Sarah, and over the next few chapters, I'm going to walk you through the exact method that's helping men just like you, men who feel invisible, forgotten, or too late to come back stronger. Because the truth is, you haven't lost it. You've just been looking in the wrong place. This is the story of Walter, but it can also be yours. And if you stay with me, I'll prove it to you, step by step. Now I want to ask you something personal. You don't have to answer out loud. Just be honest with yourself. When was the last time you really felt proud of your body? When was the last time you looked down at your hands, your legs, your reflection in the mirror and smiled? For many men over 60, that moment feels like a distant memory. Not because we stopped being men, but because somewhere along the way, we stopped believing we could be more than our age. If this story is speaking to something inside you right now, if you've ever felt like Walter, helpless, frustrated, dismissed, I want you to know, you're not alone, you're not broken. And no, this isn't the end. In fact, this is just the beginning. And if it touched you even a little, let me know in the comments. Just a simple, "This is me," because you're not watching this by accident. And while you're here, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Not just to hear from me again, but to remind yourself every week that your story isn't over. We're building something powerful here, a place where men can talk about what others stay silent about now. Let's talk about what really happened to Walter and to thousands of men like him. It turns out the root of his numb hands wasn't just old age, it was something much deeper and far more common than most doctors admit, a condition called peripheral neuropathy. It starts subtly, a tingling, a light burning, a sense of cold where there's no cold. But over time, it attacks the nerves, particularly in the hands and feet. It's caused by poor circulation, high blood sugar, inflammation, and even long-term nutritional deficiencies. And here's the kicker. Most of these issues are completely reversible. When Samuel, the old vet with the lemons, taught Walter the trick, he wasn't just handing him a folk remedy. He was delivering centuries of wisdom in one citrus-scented act. The lemon trick goes like this. You take a fresh lemon, organic if possible, and slice it in half. You press it lightly to release the essential oils, not just juice, and apply it gently to your wrists, forearms, and fingertips. You rub it in circular motions for just 10 seconds on each area. Then you wash with warm water and stretch the fingers slowly, massaging the joints. Simple, yes, silly, some say so. But the truth is, it works. Why? Because lemons contain a powerful compound called D-limonene. This compound stimulates blood flow, reduces inflammation, and even enhances the absorption of magnesium and B-complex vitamins through the skin. Together, these actions reawaken dormant capillaries and nerve endings. Studies from institutions like the University of Maryland and Harvard have explored topical citrus application as a complementary treatment for circulation and nerve repair. It's not a miracle, it's science, and it's been ignored for far too long. Walter didn't stop there. He combined the lemon method with 3 small daily rituals. I'll explain in the next chapter. But the key was this. He believed in himself. Again, do you? Because here's what I believe. You're not too late. You're not beyond repair. You're not stuck in this version of yourself that fire you used to feel. It's still inside you, maybe buried under pain, maybe dulled by disappointment, but it's there, and all it takes is one choice. One decision to stop accepting what others told you was normal. Let me ask you, are you willing to try something new? For just 10 seconds a day? Not for me. Not for some doctor on YouTube, but for you, for the man you still are, and the one you're about to become if you've made it this far. I want to invite you not to a product, not to a pill, but to a path. The same path Walter took. In the next chapter, I'll walk you through the 3 daily changes that supercharged his results. They're simple, they're natural, they're yours. So, if you're ready to take that next step, stay close. And if this resonated with you, drop a comment below. We read every single one, and don't forget, this isn't just a video. It's a turning point. Your hands still have strength. Your heart still has power. Your life still has meaning, and your story is about to change for good. Walter didn't just stop at the lemon trick, because once he felt that first tingle of warmth again, that first sign of life returning to his fingertips, something lit up inside him. A question. A quiet, burning curiosity. What else can I do? And that's when everything began to change. He called Samuel the very next morning. I need more, he said. Tell me everything you know. Samuel didn't give him a lecture, didn't pull out a textbook. He just smiled and said, 3 things, Walter. Do them every day. Don't skip, don't doubt, and don't quit. And then he shared what would become the foundation of Walter's new life, his new identity as a man in motion, not decline. Ritual 1. The morning soak every morning. Before coffee, before news, before talking to anyone, Walter filled a bowl with warm water, a pinch of sea salt, and the juice of half a lemon. He dipped his hands in for 5 minutes. 5 sacred minutes. He didn't scroll his phone. He didn't check the clock. He just breathed and let the warmth seep in. What he didn't know was that this ritual wasn't just relaxing, it was restoring. The combination of warm water, salt, and lemon creates a natural electrolyte bath that stimulates circulation in microvessels. According to a 2019 study published in the Journal of Vascular Health, such stimulation can reactivate nerve sensitivity and reduce ischemic numbness in extremities. In simple words, it wakes your hands up from the inside, and that's what Walter felt. Not overnight, but over time. By day 7, he could hold a pen again without trembling. By day 10, he was tying his own shoes with confidence. He didn't rush. He trusted the process. Ritual 2. The wrist walk, the second ritual, sounded ridiculous to him at first. Samuel called it walking with your hands. It meant this. Take a slow 10-minute walk every day. But instead of letting your arms swing freely, engage your fingers, clench, release, clench, release, in rhythm with your steps. Activate the nerves, Samuel had said. Make them move with you. This motion, combined with deep breathing, became a form of somatic therapy, a mind-body connection. technique shown to reduce inflammation and restore nerve communication. And more than that, it gave Walter something men often forget they need: a rhythm, a discipline, a ritual that belongs to them. His walks became moments of reflection, not just exercise but connection with himself, with the earth beneath him, and with the man he was becoming again. Ritual 3. The Night Reset. This was the most powerful ritual of all, and also the most emotional. Each night before bed, Walter turned off all lights. He lit a single candle. He warmed his hands with a wet towel for 1 minute. Then, he took a small amount of lemon oil or fresh zest from the peel and massaged it gently into his palms and wrists while breathing slowly. But while he did this, he did something deeper. He spoke to his hands, not aloud but in his mind. He thanked them for everything they had built, for every child they had held, for every meal they had prepared, for every note played on the guitar, for every line they had written in his old journal. He apologized for neglecting them, and he promised to never take them for granted again. Science might call this neural reinforcement. Some therapists call it affirmation through touch, but Walter called it coming home, because the truth is, healing isn't just physical, it's emotional. And every man who's ever felt like his body betrayed him knows that the deeper wound is inside. The night ritual reconnected him with his body, not as a broken machine, but as a sacred vessel of memory, strength, and still possible joy. And it worked. Not perfectly, not instantly, but truly. Within 3 weeks, Walter could open jars again. He picked up a rake and cleaned the backyard. He repaired a broken fence post, slowly but proudly. And when his daughter visited, he chopped lemons with his granddaughter, laughing as she mimicked him like a little chef. But something even deeper happened. Walter stood taller, he smiled more. He began shaving again, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. He felt like himself, and when he looked in the mirror, he didn't see a senior. He didn't see a patient. He didn't see someone past his prime. He saw a man still alive, still becoming. You see, these 3 rituals weren't magical. They were intentional. They brought oxygen, nutrients, and mobility back to his hands. But more importantly, they brought dignity back to his soul. And if you've made it this far, maybe that's what you've been needing too. So, let me ask, you? What's stopping you from trying? No one's watching. No one's judging. It's just you. And the decision to try something that costs you nothing but could give you everything. Start tomorrow. Or start tonight. 5 minutes. 1. Lemon. 1 promise. To your hands, to your life. To you. Walter was beginning to see the world with new eyes. But, as with every real transformation, there came a moment when the past knocked on his door. Not literally, but inside his head. It happened on a rainy Tuesday morning. He had slept fine. No numbness. No pain. He sat at the kitchen table with the lemon and warm water like always, but he stared at it for minutes. Something inside him whispered, "What's the point?" And that whisper grew louder. Maybe it was all just a phase. Maybe you were lucky. Maybe you just imagined it. You're old. This won't last. That voice, that inner sabotage, is the quiet enemy that steals more life than any disease. Because while most men fear losing their bodies, it's when they lose faith that they truly begin to disappear. Walter didn't do his ritual. That morning, he didn't soak his hands, didn't take his walk, didn't speak to his body. He just sat and felt it again. That old ache, that familiar heaviness in the hands, not just physical, emotional, the weight of doubt, the return of helplessness, the betrayal of progress, and then, almost like fate, Samuel arrived. No phone call, no warning. He walked in with 2 coffees and sat across from Walter in silence. Then, with a steady voice, he said, "The mind gives up before the body ever does. Always." Walter didn't speak. He didn't need to. Samuel could see the storm in his friend's eyes. He leaned in closer. "This part right here. This is the hardest part. Not the numbness. Not the exercises. But believing that you deserve to get better. Your body already knows it wants to heal. But your mind hasn't caught up yet." That was the moment Walter realized something deep. Healing isn't linear. It's not a straight line. There will be days when you doubt. Days when you regress. Days when you want to give up. But those days don't erase the progress. They prove it. Because the true transformation isn't in the fingertips. It's in the mindset. Most men, and maybe you too, have tried to feel better before. Maybe you bought the supplements. Maybe you watched other videos. Maybe you even started a routine but stopped. Why? Not because you failed, but because you didn't know that these 3 traps were waiting for you. The first trap is speed. Rushing the results, wanting to feel powerful after 2 lemons and a hot soak. But the body doesn't answer to impatience. It answers to devotion. It needs time, space, permission to repair what years of neglect have damaged. Walter only began to feel true grip strength return on day 14, and even then, he had to fight the voice inside saying, "It should be faster. It shouldn't. It can't be rushed." Healing happens at the speed of care, not demand. The second trap is perfection, wanting to do everything exactly right, every movement, every breath, every drop of lemon. And the moment something is missed, shame arrives, guilt, that silent accusation. You failed again. But Walter didn't need perfection. He needed presence. He needed to forgive the missed day, to return, gently, the next morning, and keep going. Because healing doesn't come to the perfect. It comes to the persistent. The ones who return, even with trembling hands and tired eyes. And the third trap is isolation. Thinking you're doing this alone, that no one else understands, that your pain is invisible and your effort doesn't matter. That's what kills progress. But let me tell you now, you're not alone. Thousands of men are walking this path right now, right this moment. Some have just started, some are in the middle. Some, like Walter, have tasted the joy of return. But all of them, all of us are walking together. And when you remember that, you find strength. Walter started over that afternoon. He soaked his hands again. He walked, he breathed. He squeezed his fingers with intention. He apologized to himself for giving up and forgave himself too. He began again. And you can too. If you're reading this and you've ever felt like quitting, like you're too far gone, like it's too late, I want you to hear me clearly. Now, it is not too late. Your hands are still yours. Your body still remembers how to feel. Your spirit is still alive. Buried, maybe, but never gone. There is nothing broken in you that cannot begin to heal. Not because of magic, not because of lemons, but because of you. You are the miracle. You are the medicine. And every choice you make from this moment on is part of the resurrection of your story. So don't chase results, chase truth. Don't seek speed, seek consistency. And above all, don't believe the voice that says, this isn't worth it. Because you are. You always have been. And now you're finally remembering it. And now we're here, at the final stretch. But something tells me this isn't really the end, not for you. Not if you've come this far. Not if your heart's still beating a little faster with every word. Because, if there's one truth I've seen in the hundreds of men I've walked alongside, it's this. The real turning point doesn't happen when the pain goes away. It happens when the man returns. That moment when you stand in front of the mirror, look at the face you've grown to doubt and say, you're still here. You're still me. Walter had that moment one night around week 6. The house was quiet. The rain was falling outside. He had just finished his evening ritual, the candlelight, the warmth, the lemon oil, and he caught his reflection in the window. His hands weren't shaking. They looked steady, calm, strong, and something deep inside him broke. Not in a bad way, in the best way. The way a dam breaks after years of holding everything in. He didn't cry out of sadness. He cried because he finally saw himself again, and that man was alive. You see, everything you've heard in this journey, the lemon, the rituals, the science, they're not the solution. They're the invitation. The solution was always you. Your willingness to show up, your choice to believe again. Your decision to act when the world said, just accept it. You didn't, and that changes everything. I don't know your story. I don't know what you've been through. Maybe you served in war. Maybe you raised a family with your bare hands. Maybe you built a business or survived cancer or buried the love of your life. But I know this, whatever took your strength did not take your spirit. That part of you never left. It was just waiting for a reason, waiting for a ritual, waiting for a reminder that you are still a man in motion, not a number, not a patient, not a broken version of your younger self, but a new chapter of him, wiser, stronger, and deeply alive. So this is what I ask of you now. Make a promise, not to me, to yourself. A promise that from this day on, you will honor your body with presence, that you'll wake up and choose movement over stagnation, that you'll give 5 minutes to your hands and gain 5 hours of pride in return, that you'll see your reflection not with shame but with courage, because your body is not your enemy, it's your partner, and it's begging to be trusted again. There will be days you'll want to skip, days it won't feel worth it. That's when the decision matters most, not when it's easy, but when it's hard. That's when the new man is forged. In the fire of discipline, in the silence of the early morning soak, in the lemon's warmth, in the breath between movements, in the whisper, I'm still here. I still matter. And yes, maybe this video, this message, this story, maybe it's just a digital voice on a screen, but maybe it's more. Maybe it's the one thing that finally made you pause and say, I'm not done yet, and you're not. If you've felt that stirring, that pulse of truth inside you, don't let it fade. Keep it alive. Feed it. Protect it. Be the man who fights not with fists, but with faith. Faith that his life can still bloom. Faith that every cell in his body is listening, waiting for instruction, ready to serve again, not in battle, but in living, in touching, in loving, in holding what matters with strength and tenderness at the same time. And now, I want you to do something simple. If this touched something inside you, even if just a little, leave a comment below, tell your story, or just write, "I'm here," because someone else reading it might be exactly where you were yesterday. And your courage might be the hand they need to keep going. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button. Not because it's trendy, not because it helps the algorithm, but because it's a small, quiet vow to yourself. A vow that says, this journey matters to me. And it does. If you feel this message should be heard by someone you love, share it. Maybe it's your brother, your father, a friend who's been silent for too long. You never know when one video, one lemon, one ritual can be the beginning of someone's return. We'll be here every week with more tools, more truth, more stories like Walter's and like yours. And together, we'll keep rewriting what aging looks like, not as decline, but as rebirth. So now I ask you one last time, not as a doctor, not as a voice, but as someone who believes in you. Are you ready to feel your hands again? Are you ready to feel yourself again? Then don't wait. Start tonight. Start with one lemon. Start with one promise. And never stop coming back to the man you are. He's still there. He's still waiting. And now, he's finally home.